Hi, I'm Bridgette with PotomacBeads.com. Join me today in creating this fun chrysanthemum leather cuff bracelet. If you need any of the materials, they were listed at the beginning of the video, as well as below in the description area, you'll find a full list of exact materials and colors, along with links to both PotomacBeads.com and PotomacBeads.eu. So gather up your materials and come create with me. So to start our chrysanthemum bracelet, I have 10 of my etched sunset daggers already strung on, along with an 11-0 in between each one. So once we have those on, I'm going to go through all of these beads once more. So just kind of work your needle through both your daggers and the 11s. And then once we're through, we're going to be pulling it tight, and then you'll see that kind of start of the flower formation there. So when you're pulling it, just make sure to hold on to the tail end of your thread, just so you accidentally don't pull it all the way through. You can kind of work on your thread and get that through. And so there you can kind of see that start of our flower. So from here, so we're coming out of the bottom hole of our dagger. I'm going to jump up into the second hole. And from there, I'm going to add my second color of my daggers. So picking up your second dagger just through that first hole at the tip, and then going into that next dagger so that it fits kind of nicely in between there. So we'll just keep doing this, adding a second dagger in between each of that first row of daggers there. And it'll still be a little floppy until we get all of those daggers in. So don't worry about the form just yet, because we'll get that going once we get all of our daggers in between. So now that we have our second row of daggers all on here, I am coming out of that second hole of my crystal sunset dagger here, and I'm going to go up, or go through my milky pink, and then I'm going to jump up into the second hole of my pink dagger. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over my sunset daggers and just be using the second hole in my pink daggers. And I'm going to add 5 of my 15-0s. And this is going to be on the back of the flower, so you're not really going to see these. These seed beads are just there to kind of lift up those first row of daggers to kind of give it that nice 3D look. So if we have that, once we pull that tight, you'll kind of see it just goes right over top of that first row of daggers. So again, we're going to add 5 and then skip over our sunset dagger and go into the second hole of our pink dagger. So it'll make this kind of nice little circle on the back. That'll give it a little bit more structure, as well as kind of pushing up that first row of daggers. So again, skipping over and going through that second hole. So we'll just continue this all around till we get to where we started. So here I have my circle finished. And as you can see, if we flip this over, it gives it that nice 3D look by pushing up our first row of daggers here. So what we're going to be working on next is the netting to kind of fit our Rivoli. So our Rivoli is going to be right in the middle. So if we just flip our flower back over, I am coming out of my dagger up here, and I'm just going to work my way down to my 11-Os that are in that first circle. So from here, I'm just going to go through that kind of first row of 15s and through that next pink dagger. Oop, hold on, I just got caught. There we go. So coming out of that pink dagger, I'm going to jump down to that first hole and then going through that dagger that's just next to it, that sunset dagger. Pulling that. And then from there, I'm going to jump down to the first hole of that sunset dagger and then through that 11-O that's in between the two daggers. Okay, so now that I am down with my 11-Os on that first row, I'm going to start making my netting for my Rivoli. So I have my 15s, and I'm going to be going through every other of my 11s here. So I'm going to add 11 of my 15s. Okay, and I'm going to jump over the very next 11 and go through that third one. So we get that nice little loop there. And we'll do the same thing, so another 11 of my 15-Os. And then skip over the next 11 and going through that third one. So we'll just continue this, adding 11 15s, going through every other 11 until we get back to the starting point over here. All right, so I just finished all of my little loops here, and I'm coming out of the 11 that I just started with. So when we first came and we're adding our 15s, that's the 11, the same 11 that I'm coming out of. And what we're going to do, not quite yet, but eventually this Rivoli is going to fit right in here. So these little loops are going to act as the net for it. So what we want to do now is go up through our 15s, and we're going to come out of the 6th bead. Now, the reason why we did an odd number of 15-ohs was so that that odd bead can be the point of each one of our little loops. So since we had 11, I'll go up through 6 of them so that I have 5 on either side of that point. So just kind of work your needle through, and you're going to come out of that 6th bead. So you can kind of see just from there that it starts making a point. Now from here, I'm going to add 4 15s. And through that next kind of loop of 15s, I'm going to count up to the 6th one. And that's the one that I'm going to go through. So just going through that one bead right at the tip. So we're going to go around all of our little loops, connecting all of them at the tip of each bead. So again, adding 4 15s, counting up into the 6th bead, so 1, 2, 6, and then going through just that one 15-oh. So again, we'll just keep doing this until we make our way back to where we started. So again, just adding 4 beads in between each tip of our loops. Okay, so I just finished adding on my last set of 4 15s, and I am coming out through that first point from our first loop. So we should have a nice circle here, and we're not going to pull it tight quite yet. We're going to grab your Rivoli, go ahead and just kind of put that in there. And then now you can go ahead and pull your thread. So that creates a nice little net there for our Rivoli. So now I'm going to go through all of our beads that we just added on. So just that round center part, and just kind of pulling it tight as you go so that it will keep its shape. So we're just kind of reinforcing that center part of our net. And then we will make our way back to our tail end of our thread and just go ahead and knot it off. So my tail end is over here, so I'm going to continue just working my way back through my beads. So now I'm going to go through, and I'm going to go just down through this part of my net. So going through these 15s, through that middle one, and now I'm going to work my way down through my 15s, And from there, I'm going to go through that last dagger and through my 11 right to where my tail end is. And if you didn't leave a tail, that's fine. You can just knot it off wherever you are. Oops. Okay. So here we'll just do a regular right over left, left over right. And then burn the extra thread off. And we have our chrysanthemum. Okay, so this next bit, I have my leather, which is going to be the base of my bracelet. And as you can see, I already punched 3 holes in there. Now I was using an actual metal puncher here to punch those in. If you don't have one of those, you can use just an awl, or if you have just some sharp scissors. They don't have to, again, you're not going to see these holes. So really you can just, if you have a strong enough needle, you can just sew into your leather that way. I'm just using a size 12 needle, so I don't want to sew directly into the leather. So either, it's up to you, really, whatever way is easiest for you. And I'm going to go in and just knot my thread so that it's anchored on here. Oops. I just lost it. So I'm just gonna go through and knot my thread. Just with a regular right over left, left over right. And I will also put a little bit of glue just so that I know that my knot is secure, but I will do that at the end. So I have my knot there. And so what I'm gonna do is just coming up through that leather. And the way I measured my holes is I just kind of looked at where my kind of the edge tips of my beads are, and just kind of measured that to see where exactly I want it. So I'm going to go through kind of these, just the side tips of that netting on the back. And just kind of pull that down. And so we're just going to kind of work through sewing on our chrysanthemum to the leather. If you want to put a dab of glue on there as well, just to kind of hold it down, you can do that also. So I'm going to go through and come out. And since I have gone through my 15s a few times, you might kind of want that extra grip with the flower, or with the pliers. And so now I'm going to go down through that second hole. And then we'll do the same thing to the other side. So up through that third hole. kind of through our netting here. Just working our way through one side. And then coming out and going down through our fourth hole. And again, if you need the pliers to kind of help pull that through, so here we'll go down through our fourth hole. And kind of pull that tight. So you can kind of go through as many times as you want, as many times as you think is secure. Again, if you want to throw some or dab some glue on there as well to just kind of give it that extra strength, then that definitely would work also. All right. So once we have our flower chrysanthemum kind of fastened on there, and I did put a little bit of glue both on the knot and just a little dab underneath my Rivoli. You'll want to measure out your leather for your wrist. So depending on how big you want it or how tight you want it on your wrist, you'll just cut that so your chrysanthemum is right in the middle. And then I have my magnetic clasp already, which I'm just going to go ahead using the Loctite. Just putting some glue kind of inside that little channel. And then we'll go ahead and stick that on. And if you do have a little bit of extra, that's fine. You can just use either like a Q-tip or a toothpick or an old needle to just kind of scrape away that excess glue. All right, so we'll just kind of let that side dry. And going on to your other side, and again, making sure that your clasp is on right side up. And just going ahead and doing the same thing, just adding some glue inside of that little channel there. And then just sticking your second end nicely in there. And again, we'll just kind of let that dry, but there you have your finished chrysanthemum cuff. Thanks for joining me in creating this chrysanthemum leather cuff bracelet. Remember, if you do need any of the materials, they were listed at the beginning of the video as well as below in the description area. You'll find a full list of materials as well as links to both PotomacBeads.com and PotomacBeads.eu. Remember to like and subscribe if you want any notifications on any new tutorials or new videos we have up for you, as well as commenting below. I love to see your comments, kind of how you liked this video and how this design inspired your own design. So until next time.